Good evening and welcome to Metro Focus. I'm Rafael P. Roman. The 2020 census is almost here. Next year, the United States will once again attempt to count each and every person living in this country in order to determine the distribution of federal dollars and the number of seats each state is allocated in Congress. The last national census was in 2010, and officials at the time believed the count may have missed as many as 250,000 residents here in New York City. The exact numbers may be in dispute, but what isn't in dispute is that this time, public officials are very hard at work trying to make sure that every New Yorker is counted. And joining us now to talk about those efforts and why an accurate count truly matters is New York City Census Director and Executive Assistant Corporation Counsel at the City Law Department, Julie Menin. Director Menin, thank you so much for joining us once again.
Thank you for having me.
So before we get to 2020, let me ask you a question about 2010. How do we know for sure that there was an undercount in that census?
So in 2010, and also I might add in 2000, the city's self-response rate to the census was 62%, meaning that only 62% of New Yorkers self-responded to the census. All that means then is that they did not fill out the census. We lost a tremendous amount of funding, and then the federal government has to step in and send out door knockers to knock on the door. Oftentimes they can't collect the information because legally the door knockers will knock on the door, and if the person doesn't answer, they can knock on the neighbor's door, talk to anyone in the hallway and say how many people live in that apartment. And that's actually how 2 million children under the age of 5 nationwide were left out of the census in 2010. They simply weren't counted. They were invisible.
Do we have a better sense of how many people actually were not counted from New York City?
So the estimate is 250,000. The problem with that is the data is really not great because the federal government imputes. They basically look at other records and other sources if people don't respond to the census. That's, again, how so many children under the age of 5 were undercounted. They're actually the #1 undercounted population. And that matters because it matters for Head Start funding or other important funding that families so desperately need.
And we'll get to what's at stake here. But the fundamental problem, of course, is, as you say, people don't respond, that people don't participate in the census. What are the factors that lead to that non-participation?
Well, I think it's really about information. The information and marketing and advertising around the census has always traditionally been done by the federal government. And their messaging really is as follows: fill the census out because it's in the Constitution. It's your civic duty. It's the law. And that is then why we had a 62% response rate in New York City. It wasn't particularly compelling. Conversely, if the messaging is, if you don't take the 2 minutes to fill these 10 questions out, did you know that you will lose funding for your child's local public school or your mother's senior center? That will matter. And that's exactly what we're doing with the efforts.
So elaborate on that. What is at stake? What are the things that we will lose if we're once again undercounted?
So we're really in a nationwide competition of sorts. We're fighting for our fair share of over $650 billion that the federal government allocates each and every year. So over the next decade, it's $6 trillion that we're fighting for our fair share of. And that's why it's not an overstatement to say that the single most important issue that is affecting the city's future is indeed the census. And I say that because there are over 200 vital social service programs that depend on it: public education, public housing, Medicaid, senior centers, WIC, SNAP, Head Start. Dozens and dozens of programs that New Yorkers most in need depend on really rely on us getting this right.
And an undercount would also lead, as I said in the introduction, to the loss of representatives in Congress. Talk about that.
So in an undercount, we stand to lose 2 congressional seats statewide. And we have to remember what this means and how it plays out around the country. There was a lot of media attention around the Trump administration's efforts to add a citizenship question. We at the City Law Department joined with the Attorney General's office and others. We sued. We won our case at the Supreme Court. But let's talk about why the Trump administration wanted to add the citizenship citizenship question and the fact that President Trump continues to tweet out that the question is on the census when, of course, that's entirely false. The whole attempt to add the citizenship question was an attempt to defund progressive cities like New York that have large immigrant populations and to have them lose congressional representation. And then where does that funding and congressional representation goes? It goes to red Republican districts that do not have large immigrant populations. And when you think about the repercussions, it can change the balance of the Electoral College for years, if not decades to come.
So talk about the steps that you and your colleagues are taking in order to make sure that 2010 and 2000 doesn't happen in 2020.
So we're really doing an unprecedented effort. The mayor and the city council have allocated a total of $40 million. Right. And with that funding, we're doing a number of different things. First, we've announced that we're disseminating $19 million of that $40 million to community organizations on the ground. They're oftentimes the most trusted voice in their neighborhood, and so we need their help in helping to encourage people to fill the census out and combat the misinformation that's been spread by the Trump administration. We're also launching a field campaign. So we've divided New York City into 245 different neighborhoods, and we've created neighborhood organizing census committees, what we're calling NOCs. And people can join their local NOCs. They can go on our website at nyc.gov/census, and they can join their local neighborhood organizing committee. And then, of course, we're going to utilize media and advertising. It's what I said before. We're going to make sure that our messaging is micro-targeted. We're going to talk about funding to public education, funding for public housing, for senior centers, for Medicaid. We're going to make sure that New Yorkers understand if they don't take the 2 minutes to fill the census out, they will indeed lose funding for their local community.
And if I understand it, this is the first time that the census is going to be conducted online, or part of it is going to be conducted online. I heard you say that this is a good thing, but aren't the people who tend not to respond the people who are least connected to the web?
Well, what I say about the online is it's both a good thing and a bad thing. The advantage of it being online is, first of all, it will be much easier for people to fill the census out. During this census period, starting in mid-March, you'll literally be able to take your phone out, and in 2 minutes, you're done filling out the census. We also gave a grant of $1.5 million to the public library system. So all 219 branches will have computer terminals, extra staff, they'll be open extra hours, and they'll be on the front lines. So for the third of New Yorkers who don't have access to broadband, they'll be able to go to their local public library or many other locations. So the negative to the online is just that. A third of New Yorkers don't have access to broadband, and so that presents certain challenges, but we think we've really addressed them, again, by partnering with libraries, partnering with faith-based organizations, community organizations, and equipping them with the resources and tools they need to make sure that people can fill the census out.
What about the concern that some may have about data breach? That, as has happened to big companies and organizations, the information will be hacked and personal information will be compromised.
Right, and of course that is a concern, and that is why there are a number of different ways you can fill the census out. If you want to fill it out in the old-fashioned paper form, you can still do that. They also, for the first time, have a phone option, so there'll be a 1-800 number that people can call to fill the census out if they don't want to fill it out online. But let's be clear about these 10 questions. The census is 10 questions. The federal government largely has this information already on everyone. So now that the citizenship question, we won our case at the Supreme Court and that is off, these questions are largely information that the government has. So we need to make sure people understand that. The number of times a day where I hear the following refrain, people will say, I'm not going to fill the census out because I don't want to give my Social Security number. Well, the census doesn't ask your Social Security number. Or people say, I don't want to fill the census out because I'm not going to disclose my income. It doesn't ask your income. It asks questions such as your name, your address, whether you rent or own your home, how many people live in that residence. Those are the types of questions.
And as you told me just before we came on the air, some of that information is already public.
Exactly. Right. Some of it is already public, and the federal government already has a lot of that information. And we've got to remember, if people don't fill it out, what's at stake? Losing all of this vital funding that we rely on. Also, I should add, the census is legally and completely protected by Title 13 of the U.S. Code. It's 100% confidential. The federal government cannot share that information, even with the city government. So sometimes people say, well, I don't want to disclose my information because we have an illegal basement. Well, the city can't get that information from the federal government.
How closely are you working with the state on this effort?
We are working closely with the state. The state has allocated $20 million statewide. The city's allocated $40 million citywide. The state hasn't made decisions yet about how they're spending the money, but we have a very good relationship with the folks at the state government who are conducting the census efforts.
As you know, there are critics who say the state is not dealing with this issue with the same kind of urgency that the city is. First of all, it's allocating half the money that the city's allocating, and that it's taking too long to devise the steps that it intends to take. Fair criticism?
Well, look, we think this is a crisis around the census. It's why we jumped on this issue, both the mayor and the city council, from the get-go. We believe that every day that goes by that we're not out there in the field is a day that people don't understand really what's at stake. So we've jumped on this issue immediately. We think it's incredibly important, and we really want to reverse the trend of what happened in 2000 and 2010 and boost our self-response numbers. What I like to say to every community is if they can beat their 2010 number, that will be a success. And we actually have on our website, we list every single neighborhood, how they did in 2010, and then you can click on your neighborhood on our interactive map, and you can actually join your local neighborhood organizing committee, which we provide training and resources to.
By the way, are there particular neighborhoods or communities that you are targeting with your efforts because they tend to be undercounted?
Absolutely. So there's certain hard-to-count neighborhoods, certainly in central Brooklyn. The response rates in many communities in central Brooklyn were in the high 40s, low 50s. Brooklyn as a borough, in 2010, their self-response rate was 55.5%. It's one of the lowest rates in the country. The national average is 76%. So we can and we must do better. So we are absolutely focused on a number of hard-to-count neighborhoods. But quite frankly, we need every neighborhood in New York City to do better, because if every neighborhood does better, we're going to lift that overall self-response rate significantly.
So quickly, what's the timeline? When should our viewers expect to begin the process?
So the federal government will send everyone that first mailing on March 12th. You'll see it in the mail. And again, you can respond by phone, you can respond online, or there will be an option to do the paper form. That goes through May. They will send 4 additional reminders if you didn't fill it out, and then come mid-May, a federal door knocker will knock on your door. That's a failure. We don't want that to happen. We want all New Yorkers to fill the census out when they first hear about it.
All right, Director Menon, thank you so much for joining us to talk about this very important issue.
Thank you so much for having me.